Was kann die Schweiz von den Brexit-Verhandlungen lernen? Keiner weiss das besser als der Lord Frost. Er war nicht nur ein enger Vertrauter von Boris Johnson, sondern auch eng an den Brexit-Verhandlungen beteiligt. Und genau ihn habe ich im Rahmen von Bern einfach live in Zürich zu einem Spaziergang getroffen. Ich nehme euch mit.
So, maybe like the first question, how did you like it coming to Zurich?
So it's the second time I've been.
Second time. How long have it been since the last time?
I came 2 or 3 years ago with the university to give a lecture here. It was just after I'd resigned from government, so that's what I was here for.
Was it kind of freeing yourself after you resigned?
I mean, a bit. They gave me the opportunity, and I think it's a prominent lecture, so that's why I came and did it. But it was very much kind of, came, did it, left again.
But did you have time to look around the city? Or?
Not very much. The quick walk. I walked up to where the old Roman bit of the town is, but that was really all I had time for.
So I'm happy to take you on a walk.
Yeah, let's do a bit of a walk.
So maybe like my first question, what's the biggest difference between the UK and Switzerland, or are they quite similar in your opinion?
Gosh.
You can say the bad things. We won't judge you.
If you're looking at, you mean the sort of physical environment? Switzerland
we can start with this and then go to the harder talk afterwards.
Generally looks sort of richer, better off.
But that's kind of the best part of Switzerland.
Maybe,
so.
but I think Switzerland is richer, so it's probably not that surprising. I think, both Britain and Switzerland have a sort of spirit of national independence that goes quite a way back. But obviously Switzerland is a very multicultural, isn't probably quite the right word maybe, but
no, it's right. I mean, we have 4 national languages, so in some kind of way we are really multicultural.
Yeah. And Britain doesn't have that sort of tradition, obviously.
Would you say that the Brits have like one united culture, or has this gone in the last year if we're talking about immigration?
Yeah, I think, obviously Britain is it has been built up over the years, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, part of Ireland left again, it has changed over the last couple of centuries. I think, generally the sense of a common culture has probably weakened in recent years. That's not only migration, I would say, though that's part of it.
So the Brits are losing their culture too?
I think generally we're just kind of not teaching history, culture, the national story as we used to, and people are kind of less familiar with it probably than they were, unfortunately.
Do you get cancelled if you're saying you're proud to be British? Because I saw the story of the little girl that went to school with the Union flag dress like the Spice Girls used it, and she got actually cancelled.
I mean, it's a
Diversity Day or something it was something like this.
It's a bit of a freak event.
It is.
I would say. I don't think you would generally expect that kind of thing to happen, and that's why it got on the news. But obviously, some people and the teachers of this school obviously thought the national pride was not something that children ought to be encouraged to celebrate, and you will find people who think that, unfortunately. That's probably true everywhere, not just in Britain nowadays, I fear.
So we're doing some kind of a city tour. So first point on our short walk,
right,
that's the parliament of the canton of Zurich, but as well as the city of Zurich. So the city has 125 members in parliament. They're there on Tuesday, and the canton has 180, and always on Monday.
Okay.
And they are just inside this building debating. And so the question, how is it in Britain with the role from cities or communities based on the role of the United Kingdom? Is there some kind of sovereignty between them?
Well, not quite in the same way, I think. We have devolved quite a lot from the centre in recent years to Scotland, to Wales, to the big cities, have mayors of their own, London, Manchester, Birmingham. But it's very clearly devolved from the centre. They don't have their own powers that they're kind of giving to the centre. It's all from the centre. And they definitely, I think they're quite a lot weaker than Swiss cities and cantons in terms of what they can do. They have very little tax-raising power, for example, things like this.
Would you wish it be more?
No, I think the problem in Britain is that we're not really used to local government. It's quite a highly centralised society. I don't know.
Do you think so? It should be more power to the local government, communities, cities?
I'm not really convinced myself.
So I have to walk to convince you.
Maybe.
So, okay, let's take it. I mean, we're really in the middle of Zurich. It's obviously the nicest part with the old town on both sides. We have the river.
Yeah.
Obviously, and river
And
is
the
always
mountains.
and the mountains.
And the
really, really back.
Yeah.
But rivers are always about separation. So let's talk about Brexit. I mean, you had some kind of a really big role in it. How was the time for you personally? Was it stressful? Obviously, I think so.
It was. I mean, I was kind of thrown into it, really. I wasn't a politician by career, and I kind
But that's always the best one.
It's in some ways it is, in some ways it isn't. It takes some getting used to. But yeah, I was thrown into it at the critical moment when our negotiations seemed to have failed and Boris Johnson became Prime Minister, and we had to get it all on track again, which we did. It was a bit painful at times. But nevertheless, we did something that was very important, which was deliver on a national referendum which had voted to leave, and it needed to be made a reality of, and that's what we did.
Do you think if today you would have held another referendum, the result would be the same?
Well, it's not the same situation, of course. Today we are out, and any referendum would be to rejoin, which is different to leaving. I think, although people in Britain are generally grumpy about their lives, as the polling suggests,
and I
don't. I'm sure with equal reason, and that shows up in the polling. If we had another referendum, I'd be quite confident that we would vote to stay out.
So do you think this is a misconception of European media, that they're telling us the story? The Brits are really like having resents about leaving and they wouldn't do it again?
I think it's superficial. It's just looking at the polls, and it's not looking what the real underlying attitudes really are. As I say, people feel grumpy, they feel negative, their lives are hard. That shows up in polling because Brexit has been part of this very difficult period. It doesn't mean they really want to go through it all again, rejoin an organisation that, we were a very uncomfortable member of for 50 years.
But you did the first step, so let's talk about Switzerland that never did the step to get into the European Union.
Very wise too.
What would be your words to the Swiss people that now, with these contracts laying on the table, being some kind of membership or training camp for the membership, what would you tell the Swiss people to do about this?
So, it's not for me to tell Swiss people how to vote. Switzerland is a very strong democracy, and I'm sure the Swiss can make their own minds up about this. What I would say is that the agreements that are on the table are quite similar to the sort of new arrangement that the British government is now negotiating with the Europeans. I'm very opposed to that. I think it takes us, starts to take us back in, puts a bit of EU control over what we're doing again, and the same will be true with the Swiss arrangements, and one should be careful about that. That's my view.
How was it to negotiate with the European Union? I mean, I wouldn't want to have this job for any money in the world. But still people do want to have this job, obviously. But how was it to have like this debates, conversation with them? Is there any chance of winning?
Yeah, I mean, it was, a huge responsibility, obviously, for me and my team to take this on, and we had to take it extremely seriously to get the right result. We had a mix of times, sometimes it went okay, sometimes the EU were quite brutal and threatening at times to us.
That's what Switzerland is not, brutal and threatening. We're too nice to be, we're too polite.
But I wouldn't be surprised if the EU had been a bit threatening to you, and of course they have taken measures against you over the years.
That's what we saw, and that's what we are seeing is coming.
Yes.
If we do say yes to these agreements, what they're capable of doing actually to just, they're just doing now to threaten us, but just imagine if we sign these agreements, what they're really capable of doing.
You'll get sucked in, and of course if you vote against, you must expect the EU to be difficult about that too. But therefore, if you're going to have difficulties either way, one should think carefully before giving up your own powers of self-decision.
So, before we're going into the location, what would be your kind of advice for Switzerland?
Think hard about this. It's very difficult once you've given powers away to get them back. Many European countries have given powers away. Some are happier about that than others. Think hard, because you often only get one chance.
So we are getting out of the British weather you brought with us, and just look that nobody is gonna...
It wasn't raining when I came out.
It was raining in the morning, actually.
It wasn't just now, though. I came down without my coat and it starts raining.
But now we're going to the location. You're looking forward with the conversation now today?
Yeah, it will be interesting, actually, because it's the similarities and the differences on this issue between Britain and Switzerland. It's a kind of very interesting time, I think, to be talking about it.
Okay, now last question. I have your Lord Frost. So I have the last important questions. What is your drink of choice after the event?
Oh gosh. Well, I used to run the Scotch Whisky Association, so I really should have a Scotch if we can.
We're gonna find this, I'm sure.
I'm in your hands. I'm very happy to have the Swiss national drink as well.
Whiskey. So let's go upstairs.
Great.
So first people already in.
Oh, that's nice. Nice room.
But I think we already got, obviously, before it started, a seat for you, and then you can choose one of these tables.
Okay, very good.
All right. Great. It was nice having the talk.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time.